Okay, so last time we have seen functions. So as I mentioned, don't use functions without any input. Most of the times functions will accept an input. Okay, so define like that. So let's say quickly I'm repeating the same example. Okay, uh, so this is the add function. Okay, and I'll simply okay, or how I can write, suppose number one equal to input a number. The same line I'm going to repeat it again for the number two. Okay, and then I'm going to here call output, which is add number one comma number two, and print out result. It is okay. But before that, I have to make one change in my functions. Anybody guess? This is my function as of now. Okay, anybody will try to guess what change I have to make? Anybody? That change is the type conversion. So if you see here, if I run this, okay, if I run this 5, 4, output is 54. Is it right or wrong?
Wrong.
The output is right. The reason is right now 5 and 4 has been treated as a string. And you know that if we do string, suppose 5 is a string plus 4 is a string, the output will be 54. And the 54 is not a number, it's a string. Okay, so remember that whenever you are doing mathematical calculation, please remember to convert it. Okay, so remember that part. So we can improve the functions. I can write multiple line, or I can do a simple thing here. Means it's a kind of a shortcut. Okay, I'm taking. Okay, and if I run this now, 4 and 5, it's 9. Obviously 4 plus 5 is 9. Okay, so remember that the conversion is required, and there are a lot of other stuff which we are going to see next. Let's say I'll give you an example. You know, whenever we code, we always treat the user who is going to use it is a monkey. Okay, he is going to try hell lot of things, and we have to take care of all those things. Suppose you have write down this add function, you have write down a small calculator which is doing nothing but doing the addition of two number, and I am as a user, okay, you are asking a number, I'm not going to pass you a number, I'm going to pass you a k. Let's say I'm going to pass you a 0, and there is an error. Okay, it broke, my program has been broken, and that's what we wanted to avoid. Okay, so user can enter anything. So when we code, we think from lot of perspective. uh, what if user do that, what if user do that, how we can manage that. Okay, so we will learn like how we can how in next session, further sessions, we are going to see how we are going to manage these kind of scenario. But as of now, we are treating, okay, user is a happy guy, a good guy, so he will be entering a number, and that's why the output is 7.0. So okay, so function is expecting a few input parameters. The last time, as we have discussed, like whatever the input like parameter is expected by the functions, that should match. Okay, what do I mean by that? Suppose if I remove that extra input variable, not extra variable, the required input variable, okay, what will happen in this case? It will ask, give me the two numbers, and it will abort, it will fail by saying it like, I am missing one required positional argument, which is y. Okay, so means x is there, which is number one, but y is missing. What if I'm going to give it, suppose, an extra parameter? Okay, 34 is actually the value. Okay, so remember that we can pass variable or okay. Now it will also broke. The reason is it says that it is expecting 2 positional argument, but you have given 3 and it will break. Now that problem we can resolve. And now we are entering little bit into the advanced topic. Okay, so that problem, how we will resolve it? Via this method, not the method, a way of manage functions. Okay, so what do we mean by star args? Again, we can use any variable, but this is a kind of a Python standard. We preferred it args. Args full form is arguments, nothing else. Okay, so how we define? So def, suppose add star args colon. I have to do some calculation. So suppose out equal to sum of args and return out. Okay, I can write this extra line to save the line. What I can do, I can simply comment it out, means remove it, and I can write down the same functions here. Anything is fine. Okay, so just, but it depends like who is coding and what we want. So now the functions is expecting star args. If you see a single star, that means it can expect n number of inputs, means there is no limit. You can pass any number of input, it will take it. Okay, so let me start. If I print simple add and run it, it's 0 because obviously nothing is there. If I give suppose 4, run it, it's 4. If I give 3 comma 4, it's 7. And if I give, let's say 4 5 6 7, something like that, it is 30. Okay, how it is behaving? Because as I mentioned last time, I'm going to print here args. Okay, let me run it again. Okay, so if you see, this is the output, but this is the print statement, whatever you are seeing here. Okay, so add, it is empty. Here it have the one variable input. Here it have the 2 input. Here it have the 3 input, four input. So what it is doing, when we are using star args, it is taking all the inputs and assigning those inputs to this variable. Args is a variable. Okay, by putting it star, Python treat it as like this variable can expect anything. I'm ready to go. I can go for anything. Okay, so it create a tuple. So this is called a tuple. And if you have seen in section in the list class, there is a tuple IPYNB file is there. You can go through. So a tuple is more like a list, so you can treat it as like a list, and that is why I simply print it, so it have printed it. Okay, let's say design this a function which will print few details. Okay, so let's say define, or let's say this is a function star args colon. Okay, here what I'm going to do, very first thing, I'm going to see what is the length, means how many input user have passed. So I'm going to write a print statement here. Okay, the number of inputs are colon. You remember the len function, because this is a tuple. Okay, this is a list kind, so I can use a len function. Okay, now print those inputs are as below. I can use a for loop as well. For I in args, print, let's say I, it is the f string. Okay, or let me write it down one more thing. Yeah, that is fine, I think. So I have did this. Okay, let's now try it out. So I'm going to use draw, that is the function name, remember, okay? And remember this is not returning anything, okay? I did not write a return. If I do not, if I'm not going to write a return statement, Python treat it as a you are returning none, and we'll going to see that. So let me put it out like out equal to draw, okay? And I'm going to suppose, let's say I'm going to pass okay. So if you see draw 2 3 AR me 4.5, so the output is the function is printing. So this is not the output, this is the function, whatever function is doing. The function is doing, the number of inputs are 6, okay? So 2 3 and 3 6, yes, 6, and those inputs are as below 2 3 AR me 4.5, because I have put a loop. Now let's see what is the output of this function. Remember that this is not the output, this is not the output, this is what function is doing. This is, you can say this is a kind of a functions steps, you can say, because we are printing it here, okay? That's why this is being displayed, but we will not say this is the output, okay? Let's print out. This is actually the out, and output is none. So if you are not going to define a proper return statement, or you will not define a return statement at all, Python will treat it as a null, okay? So so this is the one scenario. So ARGS always works that way, okay? So let's design one multiplication function, okay? So let's see that. So I'll say, suppose multi, oh no, let me put like def multi x comma y basic, and then return x into y. This is a very basic function, and I'm going to call it 12. Oh, that's for fine. Let me say 7, and that about, because it is expecting a input. Now how we can design a multiplication function which will accept n number of inputs and give me the output, okay? So let's do that. So def multiply star args, okay, colon. Now we know that all the input, whatever the input is going to be passed, those input are going to be as a tuple or a list. Simple terms for understanding, we call it list. And so ARGS is nothing but a list. So let me print it out just for learning purpose. Now what we are going to do, I'm going to run a loop, but before that I have to design a logic which can calculate the multiplication. So I'll say, suppose out equal to 1. Remember that whenever you are defining a variable for multiplication, okay, don't define it as a 0, because you know that any number which is multiplied by 0, it will be 0, okay? So for multiplication processes, always define a variable with like 1. Now what I'm going to do, for I'm going to choose a number in ARGS, okay? Now here what I'm going to do, out equal to out into n, and here I'm going to return out. Now I'm going to call the same but with different function name, and I got the output 84. Can anyone try to explain me how this is functioning? Anyone?
It's multiplying 3 times 4 times 7.
No, that's obviously is happening, but I'm more interested in how this block is happening, how block is working. So okay, so thanks for that, but let me explain this. So how it is started, so I have passed 3 4 7. How it is working? So it is, first of all, it is replacing ARGS like this, for n in 347. Okay, so what it will do, it will pick one value at a time. So this is a loop. Remember, this is a finite loop. It have fixed number of looping, that is 3, 1 2 3. Three variables are 3 input are there, so it will run 3 times. How it will function? So first it will pick 3, okay, and then it will come inside. So 3 into 1 the very first time. So 3 into 1 equal to 3. So now the value of out is 3. Then it will go for the second, that is 4. So previous loop we have calculated out value is 3. This time n is 4. So 3 into 4. 3 into 4 is 12, and 12 will be assigned to out. Then it will pick 7. Now the next last calculation will happen like 12 into 7, that is 84, and that will be assigned. Now we have traversed through all the input, so the for loop will end here, and the return of out will happen. Okay, so this function, in this function, I can pass any number of inputs. That will functions fine.
Atul, I have a question.
Yeah.
So if we do this way, the way you suggested, it keeps going back, and the for loop, it keeps recalculating all the time. It will be so much computing intensive.
Yeah.
So is there not a way that it will do the same thing right away, so
Yes.
that it doesn't have to keep going back and again and again and again?
Yeah.
Let's say if there are like 1,000 numbers, how long it's going to take, right?
Correct. Completely agree with that. Completely agree with that. And that is why further, so right now we are in the basic Python, right? Here my role more of like to try to give you the basic concept. There are libraries. So there is a very famous library available called NumPy. Okay, and so there are few libraries like NumPy and SciPy. So the name is something like NumPy, and another one is called SciPy. Okay, so these two libraries, so all the mathematical calculation is very fast with the NumPy. All the scientific calculations, like you have seen e to the power x and log n and all that calculation is very so there is a direct method available with NumPy. Okay, so let me see if I remember as of now, which I doubt, but let me try. So that module is not there. So we are going to see what are the modules, how we can utilize and all. Okay, and those module have very like good functions where we can do directly things. So if I let me just check if I okay multiply. Oh no. Another one. I'm forgetting the function name, but this NumPy have one function by which you can simply calculate. So rather than going this for loop and again, we will directly calculate, and that will make our calculations faster. So as we going ahead, as we are progressing towards advanced Python, we have to think this as well, like how we can make our program faster. Okay, I'll show you one very quick why the algorithm is required, when we why the logic, why the libraries are required. The reason is if you do in the basic language, the basic idea, the system will take time, because every system doesn't have that much of power, that much of RAM. So it will take time. So we to fast forward our calculation, to make the execution optimized, there are libraries. So we will see few libraries down the line. There obviously I'll explain these things. I hope I answered your question. Sorry, I'm holding it here, that part.
No, thanks. I understand.
Yeah, but we will go there. Okay, So this is like a very basic functions with the ARGS. Okay. Now the very interesting thing with ARGS is if you pass nothing, okay, it will take that as well. Okay, as empty. Okay. And why it's print 1? Because my out is 1, so it simply return the out is 1. Okay. Now suppose if there is a scenario you want user to give at least few input, so means there are few input which is required and then the remaining is not required, so we can modify the same function this way as well. I'm copying this the whole. So it here. Okay, pasting it here and I'm changing the name. Okay, bad, and I'll say, let's say required. How I will do, I'll now give two positional input X and Y. Okay, and then I'll use the star ARGS. I'm commenting it out this print statement here. Now how I will do that? A simple thing. I'm expecting at least two input from the user, that is X and Y. And then if he is passing anything, that's good. If not passing, that's also good. Now the output, this out calculation will change. Can you tell me what modification I have to give out equal to 1 right now? What modification I have to do? It will be star and X and Y. And obviously the conversion is required here, so let me make it that. Okay, now how this will function, let's see. This time suppose if I'm going to pass this, it will simply throw me error, missing two required positional argument X and Y. It is expecting at least two. Okay, so if I'm going to pass 2, it will do the magic, give me the result. That's fine. If I'm going to pass 3, it will also give me the result. The reason is how so remember that positional argument mapping. So how it is mapping up, 4 will be mapped to X, 5 will map to Y, and the remaining will, whatever the remaining will map to ARGS. Okay, so let's try one more. 7, 8, 9. That will also give me the output. Okay, because 4 is mapped to X, 5 is mapped to Y, and this remaining section will map to remaining one. And let's see that as well. So let me uncomment the print statement and let's see here how the things are. See, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, let me give one more. So if you see 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, this is the ARGS part. Okay, this ARGS, X and Y will map to 4 and 5. So this way, what is the benefit of using these two? This way you can force user to give at least few, so you are kind of making sure user must enter these two values. Okay, so that is X and Y. I need it at any cost. So you can put a positional argument there, positional input, and then remaining stuff you can treat it as a like variable inputs. So it doesn't matter whether a user will give it or do not give it. Okay, so this is a way, one way like where you can force user to give something. Now, so this is ARGS. There is another advanced function which is keyword arguments. Okay, as the name says, keyword arguments. So how that will work? So let's see. Last time we have seen one thing. Suppose if I'm going to pass this way, that will also work, right? Because I'm passing whatever the input is expecting. There is no problem if I'm using X equal to Y, and if I reverse it, that will also be the benefit of using the so in positional argument, the first input variable will map to first argument, the second input variable will map to the second argument. By using this way, you can swap it, means you can use in any order, it doesn't bother, because it knows here by passing this x equal to y, it knows functions, the value in function x will be mapped to this. It doesn't matter whether it is mentioned last or first. So you can swap, reorder the input variable this way. And this way, by passing the key, this is called keyword arguments. Okay. By passing the key, we call it keywords argument. So let's define a keyword statement first. So let's say I have to calculate area of rectangle. Okay. And I am expecting area, and no, not area, length, width. Okay. And return LANGT into there. Okay, it's pretty simple, straightforward function, and I'm passing it 5 and 6. Okay, this is fine. This is the function same as the previous one. Okay, now let me convert it to keyword thing. So what I'm going to do here now, I'm going to simply pass star star. Now keyword always use 2 stars, KWARGS. Okay, so this is a industry standard. For keyword we use KWARGS. For arguments, simple arguments, we use single star and ARGS. That's a industry standard, but you can use any name, doesn't matter, it's just a variable. Okay, now I'm going to pass print KWARGS, and let me print only this. I'm not doing any calculation. Let's see what's happened. If I'm going to pass area rectangle, and if I pass 3 and 4, let's see what will happen. It throws me error. It says that this function takes 0 positional argument. So these are called positional argument. Remember, it doesn't have any key associated with it, but 2 were given. Okay, so that means there is a problem. Now I'm going to pass a key. So let's say I say K1 equal to 3. Okay, when it says, so it says that positional argument follows keyword argument. Okay, that means the positional one comes first, then the key comes second. Now again, now this time is fine, but again it throws that like 0 positional argument, but 1 were given, because the function definition doesn't expect any positional input. So let me do that. K2 equal to 4, K1 equal to 3. Now let me run it. When I ran it, it simply print this value. So if, can anybody tell me what data type this is? We have gone through this data type. This is a dictionary. Okay, so keyword always behave as a dictionary. So now how we can improve the area rectangle to do the actual calculation is this way. Return, okay, then okay, this is actually a dictionary. So I can pick dictionary based on the key, remember. Okay, so I'm picking, so this is the dictionary. Pick width from this input and pick length from this input and return me the result. Multiply it and return me the result. So let's do that. First of all, I'm going to throw it. So we have seen if I pass simply K1 and K2, it throws me error. Okay, let me pass, suppose Key1 equal to 5, 4, let's say, Key2 equal to 6, and run it. Now what happened? It simply print KWARGS, which is Key1 4, Key2 6, but it did not find a key width. Obviously we didn't pass, so it will throw me error. So keyword this keyword argument always expect the key, a proper key, whatever is going to be used. Okay, so now I'm passing width equal to 4, length equal to 6, and it is returning the result, that is 24. No doubt we can handle it, we can put lot of if else clause, we can handle the exception, but this is another way to pass a keyword arguments where you are expecting a specific key. You don't give user to like the freedom to like insert anything. You are giving them a specific key. If you give me this key, I'll give you the result. If you do not give me this key, I'm not going to give you a result. That's the kind of thing. Okay, so this is the keyword arguments. Lastly, I wanted to explain the doc string. Okay, whenever you design, whenever you write down your function, it's always a good idea to write down a doc string. What is doc string? Doc string is actually a help document in simple terms. It's a help doc. And how we write it? So the writing is very simple. So let's say def, and I'm going to say suppose cube. I'm going to write down a function. Okay, the value suppose x colon, and obviously return x into x because that's the cube. Okay, so doc string, how it will help? Doc string start with 3 single inverted commas and with 3 single inverted commas, or you can use double as well, but those should be in 3 and 3. Okay, now inside this you actually put the definition of this function. So here suppose I'll put like this function will return the cube value of input value. Let me put like value must be either integer type or float type. Okay, then I'll print out, I'll put an example as well for ease. Okay, like how users should use. Okay, so out equal to q4, or maybe out equal to q4.5, something like this. Okay, so this is just here I'm explaining just how users should use it, and I'm hitting now. Why the doc string is required? Let's see. First of all, like suppose I'll simply run q5, that is 125, because 5 into 5 into 5 is 125, and let me put q1.1, let's say, so that is 1.331, something like that. Okay, 1 point, so it will return. Now why we have to write it down? Let's say suppose you have write it down this functions are long before, you don't know what this function do. So rather than going to check the whole logic inside the functions, what you can do, if you type cube, and so in Jupyter Notebook, it's cube, and if I press tab, shift tab, what did you see? You simply see a signature, which is actually the function call, and the doc string. You see this doc string? This explains me what this function do, or in Python, in the Python prompt, you can use help function, help cube, and enter. It print me the doc string. Okay, so this will give me an idea, oh, how I have to use this function. Okay, let's try with this area rectangle. Okay, the same thing, help and area rectangle. It doesn't return me anything. The reason is I didn't define any doc string there. Okay, so whenever you write a function If you are learning, that doesn't matter. But when you are actually doing coding for some, suppose your project or something like that, always try to put a doc string. In doc string, always try to put a simple definition what your function is doing, and if possible, try to put a example as well, like how you can execute that function. That way, if suppose I have wrote down some functions and you wanted to use it, I don't have to explain it to you how you have to use it. That function is already there. And every function in Python have a doc string. So let's see. Print help. I'm going to ask print. You know that there is a function. If I print it and it explain me what it is doing. If I do help len, you know that len give me the return the number of items in container can be anything, tuple, list, anything, right? So len function, we know that it returns the total number of value whatever it is having. Print, if you see what print explain, print the value to a stream or sys.sys.output. I know there are some technical terms they have used. Sys.st.out means the screen, it will display on the screen. Okay, how you can pass here, they have put an example as well. You can use you can use this way as well. That's why this print this doc string is very much required. Okay, so always put a doc string. So that is about doc string. Now the very important question, like why we should write down the function. There are two reasons. The very first reason, suppose if you wanted to reuse your logic again and again at different places, okay, when you are coding and you wanted to write down your logic at different places, that's the place where you wanted to write down a function. So in the function, let's say suppose if I write down interest calculation function, the one which we have seen at that day, right? So let me write it down again. I'm going to put insert an amount, give me the time, give me the interest rate, and give me the time. And one more thing I wanted to say to you guys, 100. Never ever use this kind of input variable. Okay, for learning purpose, you can use anything. Your input variable must be descriptive. It should not say ART. Okay, that's a very bad practice, and which I'm doing right now. That's okay when you are learning, but it's always a good idea to give it a proper name. Okay, so this function is right now, it's little like difficult. Means the calculation is simple, so you can understand. But for a new user, suppose you will tell what this function means, he might can't say like what does that mean. So the logic is simple. Let me again, so this is amount, this is rate, this is time. Okay, that's the one thing. Now I'll write down a doc string. Write down string is like this function will calculate the simple interest for given input values. Okay, now the next thing, it is always a good idea to define the input as well, amount. Okay, so you can mention it like amount, or the better way is like principal amount. Okay, more better way, you define the data type as well, integer or float. Okay, that is the principal amount. The next line is rate. I can I'll accept the same thing, integer or float. Okay, I'll write it down, rate of interest. Then time, this will, let's say I'm expecting only integer. Okay, so I'll mention like integer. Okay, and here mention like time in integer type, time in years, sorry. Okay, not time in years, number of years. Okay, and then, so this is the like little definition, and then how the calculation will happen. Let's say, so out equal to, I'll explain as well, like how the user should use. Suppose 1000, let me simplify it for calculation. It's 100, 1%, and for 1 year. So the output will be for this is 1. Okay, so this is a better function. Oh, one more mistake I made here. Return statement must have the correct. Yeah, so this is the better function. Suppose I came, I am a new user. Okay, I wanted to check what this function is. So I'll use help int cal. Okay, it will give me a basic definition. Oh, this function will calculate the simple interest, blah blah blah. Okay, now I understood. Let's calculate now. So int cal, I'll use suppose 2200 for 2% of interest for, let's say 3% of interest for 4 years, and print out. That is 24 rupees, $24. Okay, so this is the best way to define a proper function. So remember that whenever you write down the basic definition of that function, what kind of input it is expecting, or better way, you can like write down like inputs. Okay, and then you can mention output as well. Simple interest, and then in bracket it is a float. Okay, so if I someone do this now as a user, I know, oh, this function do this function expect these many input arguments. This function will return me a simple interest, and this is the kind like I can do the sum calculation, and it's very simple for me to use this function. Okay, now, so as I mentioned, why we have to design a function? First of all, we have to reuse it. So again and again, so it's a good idea to like write down a function. The another is when you wanted to hide the complexity. Suppose you have wrote down a very complex logic, a very big logic. Suppose rather than one line here, you have write down suppose 100 lines. Okay, you are expecting two inputs from user and doing some 100 lines of calculations and then returning the result. So rather than writing down those 100 lines at the same place, what you can do, you can encapsulate those lines into a function this way. Okay, and then you can simply ask anyone, oh, you wanted to do this calculation. Okay, simple, call this function by passing these two values. That's it. So for me as a user, the Python program will be this. That's it. Okay, for me as a user, this is what I have to execute. But to you as a developer, it's very easy to pass on this way. You have encapsulated all the complexities. Anyone wanted to use, they can use it at any place. Now, so that's the second reason. The third reason is when suppose I have write down the functions, but I want you to use it. Suppose I have wrote down this function and I wanted to share all the functions with you and ask you to use it. How you are going to use it? That's a very pretty interesting scenario, right? Suppose if I write down some calculations here, some kind of thing, and I wanted to test it out in your machine. One way what you can do, you copy this whole code, okay, execute in your machine, then execute this. Okay, then you can utilize these functions. What if there are 10,000 functions? What if there are 20,000 functions? Is it possible to define each functions again in your machine and then actually going to execute? No, that's where library come into the picture. So as we just discussed just a few minutes before, libraries are very important in Python. That's where the libraries functions come to the picture, and how those functions, it's very pretty straightforward. You can write down all your functions in a library file. It's a simple text code file. You can write down all your functions in a file, give that file to you. I'll give that file to you. I'll ask you to import that file. And obviously in the next sessions, we are going to see how we have to do it, how we have to use the libraries. Okay. You simply import that and you can do the magic. So here, when I do this, import random. Okay, this is a library. Again, remember that this is a Python. So Python, few libraries uh, provided by Python. Okay, by default. Few libraries you have to install it manually. Few libraries you can develop. Okay, so there are, Python is an open source project. So Python itself gives you few libraries. There are other open source companies who develop the libraries and give you can use them, or you can write down your personal library as well. Okay, so here this random library I have imported. So this is the Python provided library. What it will do, it generates the random number. See, I made one mistake. Now I wanted to check what I did. So it simply says random.randint a and b, return random integer and range this, include both endpoints. So I now I know, oh, what I did miss, what I like made mistake. So I'll simply pass to. Okay, so what it will do, I'll tell you. I have imported a library called random. Random have a function called randint. This, okay, and this is expecting to input variable and give me any random number between these two values. That is 35. If I'm going to run it again, it's 10. Run it again, 34. Run it again, 30, 25, and so on. Okay, so this is a function. So now if I know these functions, I don't have to worry about to write down a code which can generate a random number. And that's where these libraries comes into the pictures. Libraries are so useful in Python world. You can do a lot of things, data processing, website processing, text processing, image processing, whatnot. So a Python, as you go in advanced Python, you choose your side, what side you wanted to choose, like whether you wanted to go for a data analysis, whether you wanted to go for a machine learning, deep learning, wanted to go for a simple scientific calculations, you wanted to go for a bio calculations. There are lot of libraries available, and I'm sure about it, nobody knows all the libraries. As soon as you go learn the libraries, slowly you will learn the libraries when you use it. So don't worry about it, oh, I don't know that library or this library. You will learn it as you will start working on it. That's why these functions are important. You can define your function, keep it into a library, share it to whoever you wanted to share, and they can use your functions in a snap. There is no problem to use that functions. They don't have to define those functions in their machine by itself. Okay, because you have defined already for them and put it into a library and give it to them. So in the next session on Tuesday, we are going to see that how we can do that, how we can define a library, and how we can give someone else and how they can use it. Okay, and then we will go a little about a few more libraries which you are going to use in day-to-day life. But yeah, as I told, there are millions of libraries available in Python, and you can simply check, okay, what library you want. It's already available. Python standard library. So standard libraries are what libraries which is already built in. Okay, means built in, which comes with the Python. So there are a lot of libraries available. So whatever the functions you are using, like int, list, float, list, tuple, these are actually a functions, okay, which is provided by the Python. So Python hide all the complexity from us. Okay, by using simply float, it is converting a string into a float. By using simple int, it is converting any string to an int. Okay, so that is also a functions which is provided by a Python. Print statement is a function, len is a functions. Everything, most of the things in Python are the functions. Okay, so you can search for any library. Suppose if you are interested in data side. Okay, so simple put. So I'll simply explain, like if you see the TensorFlow and PyTorch, these are the data processing libraries. In simple terms, these are the machine learning and deep learning libraries. OpenCV, request libraries for communicating with the web net, like internet. Suppose you wanted to access a website, you wanted to download a particular page, that's a request library. Theano, again, it's a data processing. Apache Spark is a library for processing huge amount of data. If you have heard of big data, the most processing in Python has been done on Apache Spark. Okay, there Selenium, this is a testing library. So obviously every software when you develop, you have to test it out. Robot framework is a library for automation. So what I trying to say, there are a lot of libraries available. Suppose if you choose to use a particular specific library, choose it. Go for that documentation. Suppose NumPy, as I mentioned, NumPy library is like, I think it is the most used library in Python. Okay, and this library is used for all mathematical kind of calculations. This have lot of functions, and the good thing of the NumPy, it is pretty fast. And I'll explain why the libraries are fast, why we should not. If the library is available, use library. Don't write down your code. That will actually help you with 2 steps. You don't have to dig into what logic I have to put. Suppose you wanted to calculate a sum. If library is available, do it. Why to write down a for loop to add all the numbers? If library available, use it. That way you can quickly complete your work. And there is, and or maybe there is a multi-processing behind the scene. So you will optimize your code in simple manner. So that's the thing. So if you get a chance, try to simply search NumPy library. Just try to read what is that. So if you go for a Wikipedia, that will help you. If you wanted to go in details, you and these steps have pretty, like these library have pretty great documentation. Okay, so any library, if you wanted to install in your Python, this is the simple way. Pip install that library name. Okay, this is an Anaconda way. I'll explain at very last why the Anaconda you should use or not use. So that's, forget about Conda as of now. But pip is very simple. Pip install NumPy. There is a SciPy, there is a Pandas. So if you get a chance, simply search. You can simply search the best Python library for whatever you're interested in. Suppose in data science, I know it is pretty hot topic right now, data processing, let's say. So it simply, someone will have, might have listed it out. So you can see here, Pandas, NumPy, SciPy, Matplotlib. This will create charts. Seaborn, this is again create chart. Scikit-learn is for machine learning. TensorFlow and Keras for machine learning. So libraries are there. Okay, so I think that's good enough for today. In the next session, we will see how you can create your personal library for with your functions. Okay. I think, yeah, we are good here.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.